It's a pleasure to have you join us. Here is what we are focusing on today. Bank of Namibia lowers key rates to 6.5%. Kenya Airways takes over locally made jets biofuel. French government directive puts South African companies at risk of 80k fine and 10% turnover. Nigeria's inflation drops to 18.02% in 6-month streak. And to begin, let's turn now to bring you up to date on how the US dollar is performing across African market. Let's take a look at the table indicating the US dollars and other African market. The US dollars against Nigerian naira exchange rates fell to 1,470 naira, and that is a 4.50 percentage, with indicating 0.28%. The US dollars against South African rand is at 17 rand, indicating a 0.0133, and that is a percentage of 0.08%. The US dollars against Zambian kwacha is at 22 kwacha per US dollars, and that is a 0.0950 point. The US dollars against Egyptian pound is at 47 pound per US dollar, indicating that the US dollar is pegged at 0.11%. The US dollars against Algerian dinar is at 130 dinar, and the US dollars against Angolan kwanza is at 918 kwanza, indicating a 0.008% point, and with a percentage of 0.0. On commodity market across Nigeria, petrol prices are in some areas exceeding 900 naira to 1,000 naira per litre, sold by some retailers. A development that is raising fresh alarms across the economy. The pressure stems from supply disruptions at the Dangote refinery, limited loading to private marketers, and next depot. Price hikes by depot owners. Now, these bottlenecks have triggered a new wave of fuel scarcity, panic buying, and cost of living surges. To help us break this all down, I am joined by Mr. Ifeanyi Emmanuel, a tax consultant based at Lagos State, also an associate at Energy Mining and Maritime at Anderson in Nigeria. He is going to explore what this moment means for Nigeria's economy and, by extension, for Africa's broader energy and industrial future. Good afternoon, Mr. Emmanuel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us in the program.
Thanks for having me.
Can you hear us, Mr. Emmanuel?
Hear you. Confirm you can hear me, please.
Hello, Mr. Emmanuel. Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Please confirm you can hear me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. You know, recently, can you hear us, Mr. Emmanuel? Good afternoon, Mr. Emmanuel. Hello, Mr. Emmanuel.
And thanks for having me. Hello, I can hear you. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
All right. You know, recently, petrol prices have surged to as high as 1,000 naira per litre in some cities. A spike linked largely to supply disruptions at the Dangote refinery and a pause in fuel loading to independent marketers. And it appears we are still heavily vulnerable to supply shocks despite the recent commissioning of a 650,000 barrels per day refinery built by Nigerian billionaire Aliko Dangote. So where does this leave the downstream sector? Should Nigerians be preparing for prolonged volatility at the pumps?
All right, thank you very much. Currently, it's actually happening. Spain, right? In terms of essence of food supplies, stream sector going. And if you look at what's happening recently, right, this is actually the price hike. In some cities 992, some cities 95, and above 1,000. I mean, in terms consistency, festive period approaching, and the scarcity and the hurdles that the sector is facing now.
Network is really bad. We apologize for the network glitches there. We're still on to Mr. Emmanuel Ifeanyi, who is a tax consultant at Lagos. He's taken us through the movement of the petrol fuel hikes. Mr. Emmanuel, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yes, thank you. With fuel approaching or surpassing the 1,000 naira mark, there is a clear inflationary pass through into sectors like transport, food and manufacturing. Now, commuters in urban areas are already facing increased transport fares, while logistics companies are adjusting freight cost. For small businesses that depend on generators, now the cost of operations has spiked again. We've seen how energy-driven inflation can erode consumer spending and deepen poverty. Now, given this scenario, how might sustained fuel price hikes reshape consumer behavior and the informal sector?
The truth is the 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 fuel price hike has actually been cascading down to different sectors, just like you have mentioned, right? And then if you're looking at from consumer behavior, right, you understand that what is happening now is that people are now spending discretionally, right? People are now spending within budgets, having a tighter budget, to ensure they meet up. They are probably a monthly estimated, expenditures, right? Now, let me put it in perspective. I live in Lagos, right? And what is happening now is that you see someone that owns a car, but because it is more expensive, to fuel the car and go to work with the car, he would rather prefer to go with either a public transport or a colleague or something. So consumer behavior is actually shifting as a result of the hike in fuel price. And as you're aware, it is quite funny how that once fuel price increases, it cascades to every other sector. Much importantly, that I'll mention is the urban rural supply, right? In terms of food supply and other things, that we get from rural economies. You realize that we have some form of increase in food prices, right? Because I mean, the transportation cost has actually surged as a result of increase in fuel prices. So I mean, there's a risk of inequality and slowing down, macroeconomics with the advent of the fuel price surge.
It's quite insightful. Now, the Dangote refinery was built as a transformative project expected to reduce import dependence, lower fuel prices, and stabilize supply. Yet, it is grappling with loading bottlenecks, staffing issues, and possibly even crude supply constraints. Following the layoff of over 800 workers. Now, what do you have to say about the Dangote refinery? Do you think that the Dangote refinery is equal to the task of managing the petroleum sector alone?
Well, I mean, if you look at it very carefully, I don't want to use the word there are forces, but again, the guy has to, or rather, Dangote has to adapt to the market situation, right? And as you are aware, there are a lot of unions, and he has actually tried to fight some union protests, right, over the time. But yet again, if you look at the centralization, right, of the energy system, it is not sustainable for Africa or for Nigeria, right? And so for me, I've always advised that there should be a diversified refining capacity. We have the Port Harcourt refinery, we have other refineries. In fact, we have the modular refineries. And so empower these guys, allow them, thrive, give them that environment to thrive, right? Also, I mean, if you allow me to advise, a public-private partnership would be very key for modular refineries, and it could give them some form of flexibility in terms of financing, in terms of operational cost and what have you. So again, Dangote refinery is actually undergoing some form of a phase, and I'm sure he will come out strong. But then Nigeria and Africa, as a region, doesn't have to centralize the refining capacity to one project. It has to be diversified. Thank you.
Insights there. Now to another pressing concern as Nigeria grapples with high inflation, fuel price shocks and currency volatility. The International Monetary Fund, I beg your pardon, is urging the country along with other emerging economies to double down on structural reforms. In its newly released October 2025 World Economic Outlook at the ongoing 2025 annual meetings of the World Bank Group and the IMF. Now the IMF projects Nigeria's GDP to rise modestly to 4.2% in 2026, up from 3.9% in 2025. But that growth, it warns, remains fragile and heavily dependent on policy discipline, macroeconomic credibility, and continued reform momentum. So, Mr. Emmanuel, the IMF is advising Nigeria to redouble structural reforms. What does that mean in practical terms?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon,
All
and
right.
thanks for having me.
All right.
So,
In
the
Africa,
2025,
hello, can you hear? Can you hear
yes,
us?
I can hear you. Yes,
I-
I can hear you.
in Africa, where agriculture still employs large segment of the population, pressures like climate change, supply chain disruptions, inflation, and even debt burdens directly impacts both farmers and consumers. Given this year's theme of for World Food Day, hand in hand for better food and a better future, how can African governments, the private sector and multilateral institutions collaborate more effectively to transform agri-food systems so that the economic growth also delivers improved nutrition?
Okay, so first of all, African governments, the private sector, multinational organizations, and the citizens, we need to have a shared goal. Sherry, thanks for having me. We need to have a shared goal. And we need to remember that the 2025 World Theme, which is hand in hand, foods for a better foods for a better future, reminds us that the governments, businesses, and global organizations must work together to fix Africa's food systems. This should not only focus on growing food systems, it must also help people eat healthier, waste less, and adapt to climate change and make sure everyone has fair access to food. To do that, the African governments they must create stronger policies that
Maybe.
encourage a rural instruction. For instance, can you hear me? For instance, building irrigation systems, fixing farm to market roads, and funding agricultural research can help farmers grow more food and reduce losses. Governments should also connect farming with nutrition goals, like engaging the use of biofortified crops and making sure that food is safe to eat. This step will help ensure economic growth, which also leads to a better health. This matters because good infrastructure and smart policies help farmers earn more and feed more. Moving over to the private sector, the private sector should bring innovation and also bring in fair balance in businesses. Businesses can invest in. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Okay, businesses can invest in food processing, cold storage, and transport systems to reduce food spoilage and make nutritional food more available. A good example is Kenya, where companies like Keep It Cool and Roma Air have built solar powered cold storage systems and electricity driven bikes to reduce post harvest losses. These effects have helped small farmers keep their products fresh and reach markets faster. Innovation here helps food reach markets faster and improves income for small farmers. So the main goal private sector should focus on is in innovation and making business more free and more fair. Moving over to multinational institutions like the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, the World Bank, and also the African Development Bank. These organizations can support these efforts by giving funding, technical advice, and helping countries work together. In Rwanda, for instance, the government, with the support of FAO and other partners like the African Development Bank, developed a nutritional sensitive agricultural guideline. This helped farmers grow more nutritional crops and improve food security in poor communities. For all this to be achieved, these organizations must collaborate. For instance, this kind of collaboration can work when all partners share the same goal and take joint responsibility. A good example is school feeding programs that buy more food from local farmers. These programs improve children's nutrition, support agriculture, and reduce food wastage. By working hand in hand, African countries, through the help of these organizations, or what I would call private public partnerships, or what I would call private public-private partnerships, African countries can build food systems that not only grow the economy but also improve health. Sorry, can, sorry, please, I cannot hear you. Can you come again?
We can hear you.
Okay, so with these public-private partnerships, African countries can build food systems that not only grow the economy, but also improve health, protect the environment, and ensure that no one is left behind. Thank you.
Provided a remarkable insight there, Mr. Dumebi. And now let's go to another concern. According to the NBS, Nigeria's headline inflation eased to 18.02% in September 2025, down from 20.12% in August, marking the sixth straight month of deceleration and the first time in 3 years. It has fallen below 20%. With food inflation now easing, but considering that Nigeria's poorest spend about 70% of their income on food and basic food basket have risen fivefold since 2019, according to World Bank. How will the current drop in prices meaningfully reach the most vulnerable families? And what concrete structures are needed to lock the gains?
Okay, so first of all, the reduction in food inflation, which has been the lowest inflation rate since 2025, will not automatically reduce things for the poorest in the society or the poor in the society. Because even though it has been reduced, one big issue is that food prices in the market do not fall quickly. Traders and transporters often keep prices high because of bad roads, high food costs, and poor storage. Also, many poor families live far from big markets, so they pay more for food that has to travel long distances. To solve this, Nigeria needs to make long-term changes in four areas. One is farming, second is transportation, third is rural transport, social support, and finally is market rules. Going over to my first point, farming, or what we know as agriculture. Nigeria government, the Nigerian government should help small farmers grow more. This means giving them better seeds, tools, and trainings. In Kenya, for instance, a program called One Hectare Fund helped small farmers increase their harvests by giving them simple tools and advice. Nigeria can do something similar, and also building irrigation systems and storage facilities will help farmers grow food all the year and reduce waste. The impact of this on the poor may be more food, which means lower prices and better access to food to poor families. Second point, transport and trade. Better roads and slow border checks make food more expensive. Fixing rural roads and making trade faster can help. In Ghana, for instance, improving farm to market routes helped reduce food prices in nearby towns. Nigeria can work with ECOWAS or other partnerships like the the AFCT to move food across borders more easily. The impact of this on poor families will be cheaper transport lanes, lowering food prices in the market, especially in rural areas. Moving on, social support, or what I would also refer as social safety nets. Poor families need direct help. In
Okay.
Nigeria, this is usually lacking. Nigeria can expand cash transfer programs and school feeding schemes. In Ethiopia, for instance, the productive safety net program give money and food to poor families during tough times. In Nigeria, the National Social Investment Program has helped some families, but
Thank
it needs to, sorry, it
yeah.
needs to grow.
Yes, but we
And the
really
impact, sorry?
yes. Thank you so much for your insights, Mr. Dumebi. We really need to go because time is fast spent. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Dumebi. Your expertise added real depth to our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We apologize for cutting you right there. And that's where we call it a wrap on today's edition of African Economy. Thank you so much for watching. Do well to follow us on all of our social media handles at Spectrum TV Live. And don't forget, African Economy airs live every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. I am Wangfonabasi Water. Until next time, keep thinking growth, keep thinking progress, because this is where Africa's economy speaks. Goodbye, Africa.